Just give me a wee second. It seems to have to click it a couple of times. Okay, so so that's it. Started recording now, and so basically, activity 1, just if we have a group discussion on core storytelling techniques in relation to Pixar's film Up, and so generally, you know, if we just could kick off with what core storytelling techniques the film Up uses. So perhaps, Casey, yes, if you wanted to start off first.
The film Up uses a storytelling technique called embrace death and adult themes. This means that the film has a deep and complex theme, and that the story focuses on concepts that relate to human emotional development. The main character is shown his emotional development after his wife passed. The film also explains emotion without a lesson, which means the film promotes emotional responses from the audience and explains those emotions, which teaches the audience emotional understanding.
Okay, yes, definitely. I mean, I think from anybody watching that film, and you know, it does create emotion, like a feeling of, you know, it's an uplifting film, but also it's sad in one way too. So it's creating those different emotions within it, which can really appeal and maybe engage an audience a bit more. And so maybe Ash, then, you know, what would your take be on the core storytelling techniques?
I basically just said that Pixar focuses to tell more modern stories with life lessons inside of them, where Disney like kind of creates this fairy tale kind of stuff with like princesses, and like it's not as realistic. And Pixar likes to embrace modern adult lessons in them for children to learn as they grow up.
Okay, yes, no, that's good. I mean, I think, yes, I agree with what you're saying there, because they do appeal. There's sort of the films that appeal to an older audience, but also the younger. And whereas maybe Disney, some of Disney's films, yes, might appeal mostly to a younger audience. So I think that's where they've been sort of clever in their core storytelling techniques. They're trying to engage a wide audience and a whole family, I suppose, with the core storytelling techniques. So Brian.
Yeah, for what I said the film Up uses core principles of storytelling to tell us about a story of grieving and letting go of something that is dear to you. And I feel like a key part of this would be music and sound that is used in the storytelling to undertone the different scenes and emotions. Like if someone is going through a high point or a low point in the movie. And another technique would be like the different camera angles to show the different meanings and self-discovery used in the movie.
Yeah, no, that's good. So you've touched on your composition, and then your use of the sound definitely does help engage. And someone, if you didn't have the sound and it doesn't make it so, it does create emotion. I think that's a useful thing about sound and music, and definitely composition to draw a user into different shots. Okay, great. Yeah. So Cathal?
I pretty much said that, well, the main techniques they actually use, embracing death and adult themes. This is like just for both adults and kids. So this teaches people about teaches kids how to understand death and how to pursue everything, no matter what times they're going through.
Okay.
But this, what were you going to say?
No, I was just saying, okay, yeah.
This also, teaches adults well, no, it teaches kids how to deal with some emotions that you can't really teach them through words, more of action, such as how to deal with jealousy, moving away from other people, and building friendships.
Okay.
They also work in, well, one of the core principles they work with is giving everyone an arc. So this allows them to build their character and give them all their own backstory. So you're able to then understand that character more, what they're going through and why they're doing either some of the things they're doing or why they're friends with some such people.
Okay, yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, especially, yes, you'd mentioned the character art there. That is one way to really, a storytelling technique to engage. And, just to, I suppose that each character, what maybe options they have and what choices they're going to make. And a good guy character, yes, you probably want them to choose the right, or to overcome an obstacle or to choose the right path so that, they come through in the end. You don't like a character, like a good guy character, probably die in a particular animation. You want to see them doing well. So yeah, the character arc is very important. Yeah. Okay. No, that's great. Good. And then so Connor.
Yeah. So for the the core technique of embracing death and adult themes, like it's related up because the film goes into the complexity of death, with the example being the main character's wife dying, and the emotions that accompany that event and how they affect his character throughout the movie. So the theme of death is used throughout, and it's reminded to the viewer with the character constantly talking with his wife. It's just to help the viewer recognize that he knows his wife is dead, but still wants to remember her and is going through that grieving process.
Okay, no, that's good. Yeah, it's evoking emotion again, and it's just trying to appeal to, your audience. Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah. So Dana.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh yeah.
So, in regards to the death and adult themes, I was saying that they create an extra layer almost to the story, and that can make it more enjoyable for all ages. But overall, it can emphasize like a problem, an emotional problem, or like a moral quarry that a character may go through later on in the film, because it adds sort of like a backstory and an emotional layer to their character arc and their character, and it helps just build the storyline and make it more interesting.
Okay, no, that's good. Yeah, it does help with the storyline. Yes, with the understanding of the character arc and the characters. And so Dylan, then.
Sorry, my mic was muted there. Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. So basically I said the film Up, like most Pixar movies, uses the storytelling technique known as embrace death and adult themes. The story focuses on concepts that relate to human socio-emotional development, such as the main character's wife dying at the start of the film. It shows his struggle and how he goes from a happy and cheerful child to an angry and upset old man. Whenever he meets the young boy in the film, he shows him that just because bad things happen, there is always a way to turn your life around it. It explains how things can impact a person's life that can change them for the...
Okay, no, that's good. So, what if you think about the viewer, then the audience, is that something that can make them think more about, or maybe engage, or relate to the characters, basically?
Yeah.
If you think it's trying to, engage the audience. So if they can relate more to it, then
Yeah.
it might engage them more in the story. Okay. And so Jack Jennings.
Yeah. So the film Up uses embrace death and adult themes in order for the audience to have a character that some can relate to but all can sympathise with. The use of this technique is showcase to the viewers exactly why it allows the audience to understand why the character's making these techniques, and he's making them based on the emotions that he's currently feeling.
Okay, no, that's good. Yeah. And then Mark.
Yeah. So Up uses techniques and principles like embracing and accepting death and all to move past things you've lost, to accept what you've lost, and move on in your future to try and have a happier and brighter future for yourself, and not be constantly living and drowning in the misery of your past.
Okay, no, that's good. Yeah. So again, it's appealing. Like it's trying to engage emotion then with the audience. And so Jordan.
Yes.
So any different core storytelling techniques that you might think of?
I had just said about the embrace death and adult themes technique was used to good effect, and adds a lot of emotional depth to the main theme and invests us in character story.
Okay, no, that's good. Yeah. And then so Neve then.
Yeah, I think camera angles and compositional shots are probably a key technique, as
Yeah.
Up has a very big switch in environments, moving from like the air to like rural areas in the city and the ground. So without those, they wouldn't be able to clearly display like what actions the characters are doing and the extremities of the situation.
Okay, no, that's good. That's great. That's a different one. The camera angles and I know how you touched on that earlier, but it's good that you've mentioned that the environment too. Because that the environment that the characters in does help set the scene for the user. The audience, so they can understand and imagine. I suppose is the word I'm looking for, as well as the other things most of you mentioned do engage the emotion. But the environment does help too, and camera angles set the mood. And Richard, then.
Pixar uses one of the most powerful storytelling techniques, which is emotions, to show the story and get the viewers invested in their story. They use the embrace death technique to fulfill the emotional aspect of the movie, which will embrace and sympathize with the viewer.
Okay, no, that's good. Yeah. And then so Tiernan, lastly Tiernan.
Yeah. Embrace death and adult themes is a storytelling technique used within the movie Up. In the beginning, the viewers are shown the main character, Carl Fredricksen, and his wife, Ellie Fredricksen. We see that they enjoy spending time together and love one another very much. However, Ellie has passed away, and now Carl is left on his own. This technique is used within storytelling to show the audience that a character has had their own experiences with life, and it develops their character as the events change how a person reacts and handles certain situations. We see that once Carl meets Russell, his attitude begins to change and he begins to feel happier throughout the movie. This is also a form of character development.
Okay, no, that's good. So I mean, a lot of you touched on very much, trying to create the emotion and engaging the audience there. But anything else aesthetically that you could think of that might have been used? If we think about the aesthetics. We'll just think of things like the visual effects. I don't think anybody mentioned that. I know you mentioned composition, maybe the lighting as well, and the concept art, the way it's been painted and colored and so on. And you could think about that, particular colors, and saying that we've got that I have here at the moment, the environment. Yes, maybe you touched on that, but even the lighting, the mood that's been used, and the time of day and so on. And I think within the film Up as well, that did have different times of day, documented, which had, say, engage. It's another way of telling the story using those different things. So sound and all was touched on too.